Receiving a degree and never leaving your couch? Who would have thought? I received my first degree online, and about 80% of it was entirely from my couch. Today, I would like to inform you of 3 very important skill sets that are vital to maintain and achieve while seeking a degree online. Receiving an education online has become increasingly common in today's world, but by utilizing effective time management, communication skills, and demonstrating self-discipline, achieving academic success in the digital classroom has never been easier. So the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is time management. Now, utilizing effective time management provides the foundation for success in online learning. And today we're offered some great advice by Dr. Samantha Fike, Associate Professor of Education, within her article, A Professor's Top 5 Time Management Tips, published on bestcolleges.com. And the first thing she says is conduct a time audit of how you spend your day. And that's something that I would personally recommend doing before your classes start, just so you can actually see what you do with your time, where it's spent, and identify pockets of time that you'd be able to study or designate as your actual classroom time. The next thing she says is take advantage of time management tools and use a planner. And that can be perceived as the obvious, using a physical planner, but I would recommend using a digital one, such as the calendar app in your computer or your phone. That way you can put all of those assignments and deadlines with you in your pocket and you have them everywhere you go. So I would firmly recommend taking advantage of those time management tools and definitely using a planner. The next thing she says is batch your time, take breaks when needed, and break down larger tasks into smaller ones. And for me personally, that's been a great tool to use. I know as a college student, and you all can probably relate, that we all get those huge assignments, and it's much easier to break them down into much smaller pieces over several days. That way, it's not so overwhelming, especially if you're in multiple classes. That is a great way to effectively utilize time. So moving on, we're now going to discuss communication. And clear and concise communication is necessary while pursuing a degree online. And now we're offered some great advice by Dr. Deborah Davenport, Communications Professor of Purdue University, within her writing on Purdue's official website, Tips for Effective Communication with Your Online Communications Professor. And the first piece of advice she offers us is be equally as engaged. Now, what does that mean, be equally as engaged? Well, that means be equally as engaged online as you would in person. Now, just because it's a different environment, you should definitely treat it exactly the same. The staff, your instructor, the faculty at your academic institution is working tirelessly to make that environment somewhat identical to the one actually in the physical setting. So keep that in mind. Be equally as engaged, be present, and be active in that class. The next piece of advice she offers us is openly communicate with your professor and classmates. And that's something that's somewhat self-explanatory, but very vital. I mean, the more communication you have within a class, the easier it will be to understand the classmates, the context, and just interacting in discussions. You have to openly communicate to excel in those type of environments. So keep that in mind. Openly communicate with your professor and classmates for sure. And the next thing is don't be afraid to ask questions. And for this one, I'm going to use a small example. So say you're studying and you have assignment A, B, and C. You get through from A, B to C, and then now you have to move on to D, but you didn't understand assignment A. That's a perfect example of where you probably should have asked a question. A lot of things in college build off of each other and just in school in general. So keep that in mind. Be sure you understand all the content before you move on to the next one, and be sure to ask questions. Now, our final element we're going to discuss today is going to be self-discipline. Strong self-discipline is a widely shared skill set amongst most college graduates. And the Purdue Center for Teaching and Learning of Yale University provides some great guidelines on their website in 7 tips for online learning, how to excel as an online student. And the first piece of advice they offer us is stay focused when studying and during in class. Now, not all online classes have a Zoom or any type of designated meeting time, but like we talked about in time management, if you conducted a time audit and you have a designated time for yourself, stay focused during that time. Eliminate any distractions you may have and be present there. The next thing they say is practice using technology and platforms provided by your educational institution. And I'm going to use this speech as a perfect example. Even if I knew how to do the speech, if I didn't know how to utilize the software necessary to actually do the speech, I wouldn't even be able to submit it. So keep that in mind. Get familiar and comfortable with all the tools provided by your school, your educational institution. It'll just make your assignments go by so much smoother, and there won't be any bumps in the road or any snags. So definitely keep that in mind. The next thing they say is set clear goals and reward yourself when you've accomplished them. And that's something for me so important, especially like when we talked about time management. If you break down those large assignments into several smaller ones and reward yourself after them, that positive reinforcement really helps. I would strongly recommend that and keep that in mind. And then the next thing is to avoid burnout, take care of your physical and mental health. And that honestly is probably the most important thing. Stay hydrated. Be sure you're getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Your mental health and your body, you've only got one of each. So definitely be good to yourself, and I promise you, you'll do very well in school and excel. So, pursuing higher education is now becoming increasingly common and more convenient than ever. The 3 skill sets discussed today are vital to maximizing student success while learning online. So, in conclusion, perfecting time management, clearly communicating, and exercising strong self-disciplinary skills gives students the best possible odds to achieve their desired degree online.